The moment you broadcast a Bitcoin transaction, your public key is exposed to the entire network for the first time. If a real quantum computer existed at that exact moment, it could theoretically crack your private key before miners confirm the transaction, outbid you on fees, and steal the coins in flight. That's not science fiction, it's math. Quick note before we go deeper. Some parts of this episode are hardcore by design. Two questions matter most. First, who actually decides how Bitcoin upgrades? Second, why can signatures be vulnerable to quantum attacks while mining is far less exposed? Those are two completely different math systems, elliptic curves versus Shor's algorithm and hash functions versus Grover's algorithm. We'll unpack the deeper theory in future episodes. Today, we stay focused on the threat. So let's start with how Bitcoin's lock is built. Every time you spend Bitcoin, you sign with a private key. Think of that private key as your impossible to forge handwriting. Others can verify the signature is yours, but under classical computing they cannot recreate the key from the signature sample. That signature system is ECDSA, the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm. Its security rests on a brutal math problem. Given the result, you still can't reverse engineer the original key. With classical computers, cracking it would take longer than the age of the universe. That's Bitcoin's lock. Quantum computers do not play by classical rules. In 1994, mathematician Peter Shor introduced Shor's algorithm. A classical computer tests one path at a time. A quantum computer uses superposition to explore many paths at once. For problems like ECDSA, a sufficiently powerful quantum machine could compress the cracking time from longer than cosmic history, down to hours, maybe even minutes. In theory, if the machine is strong enough, it can derive a private key from a public key fast enough to matter. But the attacker needs your public key first. That distinction is where the real story begins. So let's separate public keys from addresses. Your private key generates a corresponding public key. Then your Bitcoin address is created by hashing that public key again. If the public key is your real face, the address is the mask, and because hashing is one way, seeing the address does not reveal the public key underneath. Most Bitcoin addresses today fall into two categories. The first is the kind everyone uses now, addresses that start with 1, 3, or BC1. These are masks. Your public key only appears when you actually spend the coins. Until then, the quantum attacker still can't see the target. So if the coins just sit there untouched, these addresses are relatively safe for now. The second category is much uglier, raw public key addresses. These are relics from Bitcoin's earliest years, especially before 2010, including coins mined in the Satoshi era. Back then, the mask was not always used. The public key was exposed directly on-chain. The moment powerful quantum machines arrive, those coins become open vaults. Millions of BTC are estimated to sit in this higher risk category. That explains the opening attack scenario. When you broadcast a transaction, your public key becomes visible during the short window before miners confirm it. Usually that's minutes, maybe tens of minutes. The attacker races through that window, cracks the key, then broadcasts a competing transaction with a higher fee, so miners confirm theirs first, and yours dies. Can that hole be patched? Yes, but not by running faster. The real fix is replacing ECDSA entirely with a post-quantum signature scheme. By the time this attack becomes practical, Bitcoin would need to have migrated already. If it hasn't, then the older, permanently exposed addresses would likely be emptied first, and the system would already be in chaos. So how much quantum hardware are we actually talking about? To crack Bitcoin in a meaningful time window, estimates range from about 13 million to 300 million physical qubits, depending on how fast you want the attack to run. Why so many? Because qubits are incredibly fragile. Noise, vibration, and temperature shifts corrupt them constantly. So researchers use huge numbers of unreliable physical qubits to error-correct their way into a smaller number of stable logical qubits. It takes thousands of physical qubits to support one useful logical qubit. That's how you get from a few thousand logical qubits to tens or hundreds of millions of physical ones. Now compare that with reality. In 2024, Google's Willow chip had 105 physical qubits. IBM's strongest processor had 1,121. Against a minimum threshold of around 13 million. That's still close to 5 orders of magnitude short, roughly 100,000 times gap. That is why most experts think quantum computers will not become a practical Bitcoin threat until the 2030s at the earliest, and many push the real danger much further out, toward the 2040s. So what is the Bitcoin world doing about it? The answer is post-quantum cryptography. In plain English, replace today's lock with one quantum machine still can't open. In August 2024, NIST officially released its first post-quantum cryptography standards. One of the most important is MLDSA, built on lattice cryptography. So far, no efficient quantum attack is known against that family. Bitcoin developers are exploring responses too. One proposal is BIP 360. The idea is to introduce a new address type and replace ECDSA with a lattice-based signature through a soft fork. A soft fork means the upgrade stays backward compatible. Old nodes can keep running, but only upgraded users gain access to the new, safer features. But opening a new door is not enough. Users still have to move their coins into new quantum-safe wallets. That would mean a network-wide migration. And that is where the real nightmare begins. Upgrading the protocol is only step one. The harder question is migration. How do you move the coins sitting in vulnerable old addresses, especially Satoshi's coins? Roughly 1.1 million BTC have never moved. The keys may be gone forever. If quantum theft becomes real, those coins could theoretically be stolen and dumped into the market. Some people propose a cutoff date. After that, vulnerable old coins get frozen or burned. But that runs straight into Bitcoin's deepest principle. Who has the authority to destroy someone else's property? Freeze them, and you violate non-confiscatability. Leave them alone, and you may invite the largest theft in Bitcoin history. The system still has no clean answer. The good news is that quantum computing is not equally devastating everywhere. Bitcoin mining relies on SHA-256. Quantum algorithms can speed up hashing somewhat, but nowhere near as dramatically as Shor's algorithm threatens signatures. And Bitcoin's difficulty adjustment can adapt to changing mining power. On the mining side, the threat is far more manageable. So will quantum computing kill Bitcoin? The honest answer is, nobody knows. But a few things are clear. The threat is real, even if the timetable is fuzzy. The standards for post-quantum cryptography already exist, and the biggest obstacle is not pure technology, it's governance. Can millions of holders coordinate a migration before the danger becomes real? And what do you do with the ancient coins that may never be moved? Bitcoin's survival in a quantum era depends on whether its community can evolve its cryptography before the clock runs out. This is a race against time. But even if the technical answer exists, execution is the real nightmare. Bitcoin has no CEO, no board, and no one who can force the entire network to upgrade. The code is maintained by a handful of people most users have never heard of. Who are they? Why trust them? If they fail, does Bitcoin have a plan B? Next episode, we step inside Bitcoin Core and meet the invisible maintainers holding Bitcoin's codebase together. I'm BitDog.